So we have put 5 of the world's best 4K TVs in a room, calibrated them, and masked up all the bezels and speakers to hide the design of each television. I then asked 2 other certified calibrators to join me in watching a ton of content on these TVs, and score them from 1 to 5 in different categories without knowing which TV was which. Oh yes, we also placed a £35,000 mastering monitor, the same one used by Hollywood to produce their movies, in the same room to act as the reference when we are judging picture quality of these TVs. Welcome to our 2021 TV Shootout, done in conjunction with UK electrical retailer Compare More, where we are voting for the best TV of 2021 in an unbiased manner, mainly in terms of picture quality. In alphabetical order, the 5 TVs were the LG G1 with OLED Evo technology, the Panasonic JZ2000 with custom professional OLED panel, the Philips OLED+936 with P5 AI dual picture engine, the Samsung QN95A Neo QLED, and the Sony A90J Master Series OLED. The first category we judged was black level and shadow detail. We watched 2 scenes in HDR. The first one was this sequence from the 4K Blu-ray of Arrival, and the second one was this snippet from The Darkest Hour, again on 4K Blu-ray. The first place in this category went to the Panasonic JZ2000 with 5 points, basically the maximum score from all 3 calibrator judges, because the TV consistently matched the Sony X300 mastering monitor closest in terms of black level and shadow detail in both scenes. Meanwhile, the Sony A90J took second place with 4.67 points. It looked slightly brighter than the mastering monitor, but still managed to beat the LG G1 and the Philips 936, which both manifested more dithering and posterization artifacts in these dark scenes. To judge color accuracy, we used this familiar sequence from the 4K Blu-ray of Kingsman, where there were various shades of skin tones and clothing for us to compare colors against the mastering monitor. New for 2021, because of feedback from some of you guys, we also included out-of-the-box color accuracy in our scores. Basically what we did was that after all the voting for all the categories had been completed, we reset the TVs to their respective out-of-the-box filmmaker mode and custom mode on the Sony A90J since it doesn't have a filmmaker mode, and re-watched the same HDR scene from Kingsman with reference to the Sony X300 mastering monitor. After the scores were averaged for both calibrated and uncalibrated color accuracy, the Panasonic JZ2000 and the Sony A90J were joint winners in this category with 4.17 points, followed by the Philips 936 with 4 points. While the LG G1 OLED actually scored among the highest for calibrated color accuracy, it was dragged down by its dynamic tone mapping, which was enabled by default in out-of-the-box HDR filmmaker mode, making colors look brighter than they should be. The next category was HDR Performance, taking into account tone mapping and also outright HDR impact, including saturation of brighter colors. In first place was the Panasonic JZ2000, mainly thanks to its superior tone mapping, which retained more bright highlight detail than other OLEDs without sacrificing too much brightness, both for 1000 nit as well as 4000 nit HDR content. The Samsung QN95A came second, something I would be proud of normally, with 4.09 points, helped by its more impactful HDR presentation due to higher peak brightness and lack of ABL restrictions. The Sony A90J scored the highest among OLEDs for HDR impact, but suffered in the tone mapping subcategory since the television did not preserve as much bright highlight detail as its competitors even with HDR tone mapping set to the optimal setting of gradation preferred. Next, motion. We first judged 24 FPS film motion with 44 or 55 pull down but no smoothing engaged to avoid soap opera effect, then assessed 50Hz motion by watching some studio TV programs as well as football with motion interpolation enabled using optimized settings on all televisions. The Sony A90J took top spot in the motion category with a near-perfect 4.92 points averaged across 3 calibrator judges, while the Philips 936 and the Samsung QN95A were joint second with 4.67 points, with the new QLED scoring points for its relative lack of 24p stutter, which is ironically masked by the slower response time of LED LCD technology. To assess video processing, we judged upscaling of high-definition content using this broadcast from BBC HD, upscaling of standard definition material using this low bitrate recording from ITV3 SD, native gradation using this sequence from Kingsman with the smooth gradation decontouring filter engaged on the television if available, and finally compression handling using this bit-stuffed footage from the final season of Game of Thrones. The Sony A90J reigned supreme in this video processing category, romping home with 4.75 points. In second place was the Samsung QN95A with 3.92 points, mainly because it presented the Game of Thrones clip with less noise, posterization and flashing artifacts than the OLEDs. In the next category, we judged dark and bright uniformity separately, using panning shots in this scene from the 4K Blu-ray of Star Trek Beyond and some SDR football broadcast respectively, then averaged the scores for each TV. The LG G1 and the Sony A90J were joined first with the perfect 5 points from all three calibrator judges, followed by the Panasonic JZ2000 and the Philips 936 with 4.84 points. To judge the next category, which is bright room performance, we switched on the room lights and watched some football with the televisions calibrated in day mode to their respective highest light output without negatively affecting color and gamma accuracy. Besides light output and anti-glare properties, we also pay attention to luminance stability, namely how quickly and severely each OLED television dimmed its screen in response to static elements such as the scoreboard when watching football. Needless to say, the Samsung QN95A was the clear winner in this bright room category, collecting the full 5 points from all three calibrator judges. In second place was the LG G1 with 3.78 points, since its logo detection dimming could be switched off, albeit in the service menu, compared to Panasonic and Sony OLED TVs where there's no way to prevent the whole screen from dimming after static logos were displayed for a period of time. Last but not least, gaming. It was impossible to judge gaming picture quality together on all televisions through the same video source signal, because 1. There's no 5-way HDMI 2.1 splitter that we could buy on the market yet, and 2. Each television would need different HDRG settings on the console. We arrived at a consensus to award the scores based on input lag, picture quality, as well as HDMI 2.1 gaming features such as 4K 120Hz, VRR and HDRG implementation. Unsurprisingly, the LG G1 was deemed to be the best gaming TV of 2021 with 4.67 points, followed by the Samsung QN95A with 4.33 points. To crown the best home cinema TV, we added up the scores for black level and shadow detail, color accuracy, HDR performance, 24p motion and dark uniformity, since these attributes are important for watching high-quality 4K HDR movies in a dimly lit room. The winner was the Panasonic JZ2000 with 22.50 points, just peeping the Sony A90J, which received 22.42 points to the title of Best Home Cinema TV of 2021. Obviously, not everyone will be watching pristine quality content in a dark room all the time, so we also have an award for the best living room TV, which does well with a combination of heavily compressed material and spots in a bright room if necessary. We totted up the scores for video processing, 50Hz motion, screen uniformity, and also bright room performance, and the best living room TV of 2021 was the Sony A90J with 18.25 points, followed by the Samsung QN95A with 17.92 points. Finally, the overall best TV of 2021. After adding all the scores in all 8 categories, I can announce that the best TV of 2021 in our annual TV shootout is the Sony A90J with 34.42 points. The Panasonic JZ2000 was the runner-up, having accumulated 33.56 points. Compared to last year's Sony A8 or A8H, the A90J exhibited significantly less near-black flashing artifacts, as well as delivered higher peak brightness and HDR impact thanks to a combination of the latest generation OLED panel, metallic heatsink, and Bravia XR processing. Together with Sony's traditional strengths of class-leading motion, upscaling, and gradation, these improvements allowed the Bravia A90J to finally overtake Panasonic to be crowned our best TV of 2021. So many congratulations to Sony again for building such a formidable television. As with all of our TV shootout events, there are bound to be detractors who question the validity of the results, especially if their favorite television didn't win. So let me address some of these questions one by one. Why didn't you include the Sony Z9J or Z9J Master Series LED LCD TV? It could have won the shootout. Due to space constraints, we only had room for 55-inch TVs plus the mastering monitor, and the Z9J 8K TV is only available in 75-inch and 85-inch sizes. Furthermore, even the mighty Sony ZD9 or Z9D failed to make a dent against OLEDs back in our 2017 TV shootout, so it's extremely unlikely that a transmissive display can suddenly beat a self-emissive OLED this year. What are the credentials of the calibrators to make sure that these TVs are all calibrated properly? I and Maciej Koper calibrated these TVs. My name is Vincent Teo, and I am an ISF-trained calibrator who has calibrated multiple Sony X300 monitors with perceptual matching for UK broadcast studios. Before the pandemic, I also used to calibrate TVs for private clients throughout the UK and abroad. Maciej is a professional calibrator from Poland who is dual ISF and THX certified and writes most of the technical TV reviews on Polish website hdtvpolska.com. Maciej is simply one of the most skilled and experienced calibrators I know. He is still actively calibrating for post-production studios in Europe, including some Sony X300 and LG OLEDs at Netflix Europe's headquarters in Amsterdam. That's why I spared no expense to fly him in from Warsaw to the UK to help me with calibrating these 5 televisions, perceptually matched to the Sony X300. By the way, if you would like to buy any of these TVs that have been calibrated by either Maciej or me, please call Criminal Mall Leads on 0113 244 6607 and ask for David. With the Panasonic JZ2000 having an integrated speaker bar, how did you hide the design of the TV? Well, David Corner, the store manager at Criminal Mall Leads who organized the shootout, resourcefully attached thicker cardboards at the bottom of each TV, so that every one of them looked like they had an integrated soundbar, just like the Panasonic JZ2000. Since you and Maciej calibrated the televisions, what's the point of masking the TVs? Wouldn't you know which TV is which? No, we, the judges, genuinely didn't know which TV was which on voting day. Here's how it worked. The televisions were calibrated by me on Thursday and Friday. Then Maciej flew in and joined me on Saturday for final tweaks and perceptual matching. Early on Sunday morning on shootout day, David, the store manager, switched the positions of the TVs, which is easy to do because they are mounted on wheel stands, in an order that's unknown to us judges, then masked the televisions up and labeled them as A, B, C, D, E. The judges genuinely didn't know which TV was which on voting day. Who cares? You still work out which TV was which from the user interface, menus and pop-up notifications anyway. Again, since last year's successful shootout, we've already designed a workflow to prevent accidents. That's not a euphemism, by the way. The judges would wait in a separate room with no views of the television. David, the store manager, would then play the content and loop it using an Oppo 203 4K Blu-ray player, and only summon the judges into the TV room to watch the content for judging once all the menus and pop-up notifications disappear. After watching a piece of content and assigning scores, the judges would return to the waiting room while David loaded up the next piece of content for judging, and the process was repeated throughout the day. Surely you and Maciej can still recognize which TV is which from the picture quality, since both of you have calibrated and reviewed the televisions. I purposely put the categories where the differences after calibration were so minute, such as shadow detail, color accuracy, 24 FPS motion, and dark uniformity, to be watched and voted on first, and the judges were advised against adjusting scores retrospectively. Maciej and I had guessed by the midway point which TV was which, but even then we weren't 100% sure, and we still conscientiously attempted to assign scores based on the attribute being judged, instead of the TV brand. And because the third judge, Mr James Willmott, who is a THX-certified video calibrator, neither calibrated nor reviewed any of these 2021 televisions, he had absolutely no idea which TV was which until David reviewed the televisions after we finished voting across all 8 categories. And if we calculated just his scores, the Sony A90J still ended up as the clear winner. Remember, this shootout is only intended as a guide. The fact that we tested so many different categories is to provide a point of reference for your specific use case. If you are a hardcore gamer who wants all the HDMI 2.1 gaming features, buy an LG OLED. If you mainly watch TV in a very bright room, choose the Samsung Neo QLED. If you like to watch movies in the most accurate manner possible, get a Panasonic OLED. And if you want the overall best TV of 2021 and have no budget limitations, get the Sony A90J. Good luck whichever TV you decide to buy. Just don't make any of the 6 TV buying mistakes I've explained in this video here.